This German trader is Patrick Nill, and he's a legend in the World Cup Trading Championships for being 5 times in a row in the leaderboards and reaching the first place for 2 times. So after going to visit him in his trading floor and spending 3 days with him learning his trading strategies, as you probably saw in one of my previous videos, I decided to have a first interview with him and the youngest trader on his team, Jonathan. And this is only the first of a series of interviews and podcasts that I'm releasing here on the channel. The next one will be with 3 times world champion Jan Smolin, with 2017 world champion Stefano Serafini, and even more that are going to come out in the future. So if you don't want to miss out, subscribe now to the channel. Now, without further ado, enjoy the interview of 2 times trading world champion Patrick Nill. Well, Patrick, Jonathan, welcome. We're here in Stuttgart, and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks.
As you guys may know, Patrick is the 2 times world champion for now, maybe 3 times this year, we will see. And and Jonathan is a member of his team of trader traders, the youngest on the team yet.
Yes.
And so I would like to start first a question to Patrick. How did your journey in trading started, and what drove you in trading? What made you want to go and start trading in the first place?
Ich habe schon in der Schule angefangen zu traden, und zu der Zeit war die Dotcom-Blase. Da hat man jeden Tag Geld gemacht und es war alles toll. Leider war ich zu klein und habe da gar nicht mitgemacht. Aber seither bin ich gefesselt von der Börse und ja, habe neben Job dann immer gehandelt und bin nicht mehr losgekommen. Und jetzt handle ich ja nur noch.
So he started trading during school, like during the dot-com bubble, where everybody could make money. And that was the point where he was attached just to stocks and trading. And then he never stopped it, but he went like to another job and businesses. And then in 2018, he started going full-time into trading. And yeah, then he started to compete in the World Trading Championship.
So you started competing in the World Championships very soon in the process of becoming a trader, right? Like the very first years.
Das stimmt, ja. Nach ungefähr einem Jahr, wo ich Vollzeittrader war, habe ich dann mit der WM angefangen. Weil mir hat keiner geglaubt, dass Trading längerfristig funktioniert, und dann wollte ich es meiner Familie, Freunden, allen zeigen, wie das tut.
So after 1 year of full-time trading, where he decided to quit everything else and go full-time trading, after 1 year he started to compete in the trading championship. And the reason was that most of his family and friends told him how risky trading is and how can you do that and why do you risk that money and it's dumb to do it. And he wanted to show them that it's not that dumb.
All right. So at what age was it, more or less? You were probably in your, I guess, 30s, 40s?
I'm an old man.
You started late, but I think it's a good thing, to even though you're late in life. Let's say late. There's no actually late in life. Like you can literally start where there's no late.
The first contact to trading was very early in school, but to go full time was pretty late.
Yes.
I had the luck. One of my best friends, he's a trader, Tom,
Yes.
And so I could trade after the job, and so it's ein leichter Übergang zum Trading.
It was like a smooth process between the job and going full-time trading, because a very good friend of his is trading for a long time.
I get it. Now I understand. Because before you were a business owner, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And 2018 there was this decision to verkaufen das Unternehmen, to sell the company, und eben nur noch Vollzeit zu treten.
That's like 2018 he made the decision to sell his company and go full-time trading.
Yes.
There's a team behind Patrick. Like Patrick is the world champion and he's the front man, but also in the background, as you mentioned, there's Tom, there is Jonathan, and there's all the rest of the team, which people also saw in the previous video. By the way, guys, if you didn't see the video, go check it out. How was the process in the team building? Because I don't think you're the first one in the team. You're probably the last one in the team, correct? Who came in the team?
Not anymore.
Not anymore, right?
Team is growing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like the youngest one anyway. So how have you lived the process of meeting with them and also learning the strategies, and how was the process of the team building?
The process was very interesting. Like I was just studying in South Germany, and trading is very lonely. Like I studied at online university, then COVID came, everything was on my own. I was just sitting on the desk, trading, studying. And then I followed the trading championship, and I didn't knew that there was a team. I didn't knew who was Patrick Nill. I just saw his name several times on there, and I followed or tried to contact several persons that made gains over a long period of time in the championship. And then I just did some research, like on. There was also a Raul Glavan. He's not there anymore because he told me that he sold his soul to the banks. Yeah, really.
Really?
He said it exactly that way on Clubhouse. It was an app where it was like a short hype. I think nobody's using it anymore.
Yeah.
There I had a call, or I don't know what it was, a meeting with him. And then he said, yeah, he's not going to be on the public stage anymore. And then there was just Patrick Nill, like constantly up there. And then I did research, and then I found the website. It looked very old. I was like, looks like a scammy website here. And then there was a phone number. And then I just called that phone number. And then I was talking to a Tom, and I was like, yeah, I'm searching for a Patrick. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'm sitting in the office with a Patrick, and blah, blah, blah. And then we did some small talk, and I was sitting still in my room studying and just calling to Tom. And then he was like, yeah. After some small talk, the information came out that they're not far from the place where I stayed.
Yeah.
It was like 10, 15 minutes by car. And then Tom invited me for a cup of coffee into the office where Patrick Nill was sitting as well. So a couple of weeks later, I went to visit him for a cup of coffee. First, I was at the wrong place. And then I walked like 3 kilometers, I think. I jogged to the office because I was late to the appointment, to the coffee appointment.
You walked?
Yeah, Tom offered me to pick me up by car, but I was like, nah, I'm going. Yeah. So, and that's the first time I met the team, and then I went like in there, and a little dream came true because it was like 5-6 people sitting in front of screens trading, and had like more company than I did lonely in my room. Uh-huh. And then I had a 3 or 4 hour talk with Tom, and I was like, oh, this guy knows a lot of stuff. And then he called like DAX moves while we talked, and had a very nice view, sunny day, and he called moves in the DAX, and I was like, oh damn.
He was like with a joystick moving it.
Yeah, like really like moving the DAX, and was like, this guy's good. And then I went home, and then a couple months later, the relationship reestablished, because they always offered me that I can come to the office and just sit there. And the beginning was like, nah, it's kind of weird to go there. And then I was coming there frequently. And yeah, that way I joined the team, because then after some time they came to me and was like, yeah, you're not dumb, you also have a lot of knowledge, why don't you want to join the team? We have a free desk here. And that's how I joined them.
That's how you joined. Nice.
Wow. You never told me
you
that.
You didn't know the story.
Yeah, and I can add that Patrick in the beginning didn't even recognize me. I was sitting in the office for 3 or 4 weeks on like the lunch table and doing a mix between studying and trading, and just sitting there with my laptop and being like thankful for hearing the conversations the other guys in the office did, just to like get some knowledge.
Yeah.
And Patrick, like after 5 weeks, he didn't knew who I was, what my name was, why I am sitting there.
He was like, there's some weird intern here. Who is he?
Yeah, kind of that way.
So the teamwork is also like a crucial part of your trading process, as we know. Probably we'll go more into detail of that later. But how much the whole team played a role? Because Tom is the founder of the team, and also with you, I would like to ask how was having him as a mentor, and how do you work with the team and Tom, and how was the process for you inside of the team in the last 4 years?
Also, ich war quasi schon immer Teil vom Team. Ich war schon seit 15 Jahren mit Tom zusammen, aber halt, ich war nicht den ganzen Tag da. Ich war immer nur abends da oder immer nur teilweise. Und nach meinem Unternehmensverkauf war ich quasi immer da und ja, musste mich da gar nicht lang zurechtfinden. Das war recht einfach dann. Yeah.
So he was part of the team way longer than 4 years. Like from the beginning on, he was part of the team, but at the beginning or in the first 10 years, he was just always in the office at the end of the day. Like after his work, after the stuff for his company was done, then he went to the office, but he knew most of the people. And when he decided to go full time, it was no real integration process, because he knew everybody, he knew the office, he was just there longer, not just in the evening, also in the morning and afternoon.
So I guess my question is, how was the learning process like on the technical part? I would say, how was the process of learning trading with Tom and the team?
Ja, ich war bei jedem Workshop dabei, ich war bei jeder Schulung immer dabei. Also ich verstehe es, meinst du das? Ja, und von daher war es sehr einfach. Ich habe quasi die Schulung 20 Mal durchgemacht oder 10 Mal durchgemacht und habe immer mehr mitgenommen. Und durch das, ja.
Because he was there like every time there was a workshop or there was a mentoring or just in the daily business.
Yeah.
He just knew so much, and there was not like one process or one point at a time where he got the knowledge. It was just a long process of many workshops or mentorings where he got the information, and that way he went into the process and the team.
So in your analytical process, which are the tools or the kind of analysis that you use?
Die Basis von unserem Handel ist Mark and Volume Profile, und die haben wir für uns so angepasst, dass es optimal ist.
So we adapted the market and the volume profile for the way that we trade. We try to simplify it. And of course we also use fundamentals and so on. But as we trade all markets like stocks, futures, currencies, cryptocurrencies, it's different for what base we use for trading in what market. You can use really order flow in the Forex market, so we don't use it there, but in the futures, of course, we use it. It also depends on the time horizon you trade. But the main basis of most is volume profile, market profile, of course fundamentals, and sometimes, if possible and useful, order flow.
Would you suggest these tools for a beginner who starts trading? Like, what would be the top three tools that you would suggest to a new trader who starts his journey?
Das darfst du sagen.
I think top three is, for me or for my personal preference, always tools that are not subjective. So to try to get as objective as possible, because most people trade discretionary, but it's going to be difficult to replicate it. So if I think about it, I think number one is definitely volume profile and market profile. And I think if that counts as two, like 1 and 2, the third one would be just candlesticks, but fixed rules about it. It doesn't matter which rules. You can also use Fibonacci's, but make a fixed rule set that is not like bendable or flexible in any way. So that, for example, an indicator or algorithm is always printing the same analysis, and not that you draw, for example, a trend line, but sometimes you draw it this way, sometimes you draw it that way, to have strict rules. And then I think if I would start, the best tools would be volume profile, market profile, and then fixed rules for just
for price action.
Price action, yes. If people want to add more, then you can add stuff like fundamentals or order flow, but I think there's way more subjectivity in that. Because to analyze fundamentals it's difficult to have like a fixed rule set, you know it.
Yes.
Order flow, there are some strict rules that are always the same if you have weak tops, weak highs, and so weak highs or weak lows.
Yes.
But I think, for example, if you look at the order book, what is a large order? To quantify this is really difficult.
Of course. Yeah, I guess that there are some patterns in order flow which are more quantifiable than others. We did it with stop runs and icebergs, which are, you don't need to quantify the number of order per se. So I agree with most of it. Probably the only macro thing that you can kind of quantify based on the reaction is you can best backtest how news impact the market and a specific news in a specific cycle. But of course, to track all the macroeconomics and all the macroeconomic cycles takes huge amounts of data. There's so many data points, and to make it, you can make it objective. And I believe there's a lot of, funds or traders or institution who are able to quantify it and to build algorithms also based on fundamentals. But for normal traders, that's at the beginning for sure. I wouldn't suggest to start quantifying macro, but to start with basic rules for sure.
And it's so intercorrelated, like all the numbers in all the countries are so intercorrelated, and then this time you have to focus on that number or that specific economic data, and in different times it's really, really hard. But I totally agree on that.
Yeah, it's a much wider set of data for sure. I would like to go through, if you can walk us through your most memorable trade in your career as a trader. I remember you were talking to me about a WTI, like a oil trade during COVID or right after COVID or something like that. Or if you have any other memorable trade, please.
No, that was the worst trade I had. Yeah.
The worst trade?
Yeah.
Can you walk us through it?
Nee, während Corona war so, dass Öl immer tiefer gefallen ist. Und nachdem sich der Wert gedrittelt hat, waren wir bei ungefähr $12-13 pro Kontrakt. Da sind wir auf die Idee gekommen, dass wir jetzt Öl kaufen, weil es ist viel zu billig, weil 12, das kann ja gar nicht sein. Das hat jahrelang das 10-fache gekostet, das muss wieder steigen. Und als es dann auf 10 oder 8 gefallen ist, haben wir gedacht, kaufen wir noch mehr, weil es muss ja steigen. Und so ging das weiter, bis es auf 5 gefallen ist und haben wir nochmal gekauft, weil wir gedacht haben, ja, das ist toll. Ja, wir haben sämtliche Regeln missachtet, was man eigentlich beachten sollte. Aber wir waren der Meinung, dass das ein tolles Geschäft sei. Und dann haben wir aber mal nachgedacht, was das eigentlich heißt und oder welche Gefahren tatsächlich da sind, haben beschlossen, wir lösen alles auf und ziehen unser Stop-Loss. Und in der Tat, also in der Nacht war es dann so, dass Öl bis minus 40 oder sowas gefallen ist. Also wir waren uns gar nicht bewusst, dass Öl ins Minus gehen kann. Also nicht mal Interactive Brokers hatte die Kursstellung im negativen Bereich. Also, aber das wäre ein sehr teurer Tag geworden, wenn wir nicht den Notstopp gezogen hätten. Und sind wir echt sehr glücklich. Seither wissen wir, dass auch ein Future-Kontrakt ins Negative kann.
I got most of it.
Should I not translate it?
I think it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darf ich das so sagen oder soll ich es lieber nicht sagen? Dass wir
So I just didn't understand the part when the price went negative. Then what happened?
Yeah, like it was just oil is so cheap at $13. It costs usually like 10 times more. So they started buying oil. Yeah. And then oil prices fell to 8, and I was like, okay, now we're gonna bend our rules because the rule is most of the times you don't scale too much into a position. Yeah. And he said, yeah, but we thought like, yeah, oil has to rise. Uh-huh. So they bended the rules, scaled in again, and then scaled in again.
And what happened?
And then at one day they just decided, okay.
No, same day.
Same day? Same day they started to scale in. They just said, okay, now we have to get out of this position because otherwise it can get even more expensive, although it was very expensive already. And then the price went negative. The problem with the whole story is that Interactive Brokers, for example, one of the biggest brokers, or
don't have the negative
most of the brokers, they don't had prices or market data at negative prices. So if they wouldn't have closed the position, the brokers would have they would have rebated like the money you lost because it was a mistake on their side. Although you would have gotten stopped out, they still would give you the money back because if they don't provide data for a negative price,
it's their problem.
It's their problem, not yours. Although your position was in the wrong way, and most likely you would have most likely there would have been a liquidation. I think the maximum was minus $40. But they get out before the prices were negative, but so the losses were on.
Yeah, we thought when the price was at $5, the maximum risk is $5,000 per contract, but it was $47,000 per contract.
Yeah. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
So after when it went back to positive, did you start buying again?
No.
Nice. Okay. Do you have also remember? Did you leave that trade or like what you?
No, I was not in the office during that time. Mm-hmm. So my most memorable trade was I think when I bought Bitcoin at I think it was $3,900 after the crash.
Which crash?
The crash I think
during
it was
COVID?
2019. 2020. I don't remember anymore. But it was getting Bitcoin really cheap and then selling it like a couple $1,000s later. I was like, oh yeah, it was really nice profit. And I went like to 60K. I was like, oh. It was still happy to make profit, but it was also hard because you missed a lot of more gains. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is your most memorable trade?
My most memorable trade? My first trade. My very first trade is probably my most memorable trade. I was just started trading, and we were with my friends, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. All right, we really didn't know what the hell.
The online gambling casino.
Definitely. So we put 50 euros on an offshore broker account with a 1 to 500 leverage. And we use the Gartley strategy, like the harmonic patterns. So 4-hour Gartley start kicking in, all the confirmation, let's go. Kick in. I enter a little bit earlier and I get stopped out. And all of my friends enter at the right moment. Like all of my friends, literally I had 3 best friends. They were all in. I wasn't in. And then the Bank of Canada releases the policy, the interest rate policy, and price goes boom, and they all go to profit, and they start partying basically. And I was there with my burn account, and I was like, that's like real FOMO, you know. That's where it really kicked. And it was my first trade, so it was my first trade was very traumatic, but I will always remember it. I think because FOMO also is like the term was born in psychology of social anxiety, you know, because it's the fear of missing out a social gratification situation, you know. So it was both social FOMO and trading FOMO. So it was like, I was devastated, bro. I was really devastated. But that was definitely memorable, yeah. I think the most memorable one are the ones where you were the worst one are the more memorable one probably. Because I don't think there's one big trade that makes your career or your capital, you know, there's no such thing. But there's definitely a worse trade.
I just created some slides about risk management in a presentation, and one slide was just, there's not going to be the one big winning trade everybody or many traders hope of, because try to make consistent gains and not the one big trade that gets you out of the drawdown or makes the big profit of the year. Sometimes that can be, but you should not work towards it. Maybe it's coming, then it's nice, but it's not, or I think it should not be the goal to always aim for the one big trade.
So talking about the Robbins Cup, the World Cup Trading Championships, what is your approach like to both to risk management, and which assets do you mostly trade during the championships? And what's your strategy overall? Like, what's your plan, kind of?
Also in der Weltmeisterschaft ist es schwierig zu handeln, weil die Ordergebühren sind exorbitant teuer. Deswegen habe ich mich entschlossen, nur Swing Trades zu machen von 1, 2, 5 Tage und handelt da unsere Setups vom Market und Volume Profile. Und vom Risikomanagement, ja, ich meine, man muss 100-200% im Jahr erreichen, deswegen wird es schon ein bisschen gedehnt. Also das Risikomanagement würde ich auf privaten Konten nie fahren.
So, because the fees in the championship are so high, he's mainly using or trading swings 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days and no intraday trades because it's just too expensive. And the risk management, he is taking, of course, higher risks, because if you want to be on the top 3 or top 5 in the championship, you need to have 100, 200, 300% depending on the year. So the risk is way higher than on private accounts, and he would never use that risk on private accounts or managed accounts.
And I think in the championships, like the whole point is getting to the first place, right? So throughout the years, how has it evolved? Because probably there's more and more people now trying to win the championships. So do you feel that there's more competition while you're trading and while you're checking the leaderboards?
Ja, das ist deutlich mehr Menschen machen jetzt mit. Man sieht auch viel mehr Glücksritter. Das war vor 4 Jahren nicht so. Da war alles recht konstant. Also über das ganze Jahr ist die Prozentzahl immer mehr gewachsen. Und jetzt sieht man immer wieder neue Leute, die urplötzlich da sind mit 100% und 3 Tage später sind sie wieder weg. Also das gab es früher nicht so.
So a few years ago, like around about 4 years ago, it was not that common that people or just lucky people came out of nowhere, because nowadays people come, you've never seen the name, and then they're on the top with 150-200%. Most of the times a few days later they're gone again. But 4 years ago it was more that the people made like constant profits or losses, but it was a constant way. And nowadays, or this on the previous year, there's way more competition, way more people participating, and that way you have way more people just being lucky and going to the top very fast, but most of the times also going to the bottom really fast.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think that one shouldn't judge a trade just based on that number, like the gain. is not what measures the trade, because it could be a lucky streak. One could just go there, do 200% with the trade and then not trade anymore, and he could still be in the top 3 and the top 4. So
das ist der Grund, warum ich jedes Jahr wieder neu mitmache, weil man zeigen will, dass es auch immer geht. Und das ist die Lucky Shots, das kann man nicht wiederholen.
That's the reason he's participating every year, because yes, maybe then 1 or 2 years are lucky shots, but if you make it 4 or 5 years in a row, unlikely that you have 4 or 5 years in a row a lucky shot every year. And I think an important addition is always that if we held some presentation somewhere, most of the times we published like the P&L and equity curve, and also how many trades were made, because if you make a lucky shot, you most likely have under like 10 or 20 trades. And on the championship accounts, I think it was 200, 300.
More.
So trade numbers in the hundreds, and then it's going to be difficult to have a lucky shot if you make like 200 or 300 trades.
Definitely. So I think those stats should be published. The point is, I think in the World Champs, you just see the gain, but for a proper approach, like maybe a nerd like me who's constantly watching the leaderboards can see that his increase is gradual. So he's like from 80, 85, then 90, 120, and then you see people just pop from 0 to 400%, and you can't explain it to yourself, but they could be in the leaderboard after everything is finished. But I think what the World Championship could do and kind of should do is to showcase not the trades and the positions, of course, because then you can reverse engineer the strategy, and nobody wants that. But at least show some more stats like the risk of ruin, the profit factor, the maximum drawdown, the average drawdown. I think that it could be. There's still space for improvement, I think.
But if you think about it, and if you change the perspective, there is a conflict of interest. Like the people offering the championship are not interested in that. Because if they would publish more stats, less people would take part, and they make a bunch of money out of fees. And if more people participate, they get more fees. And if they publish all the stats, I mean, I agree, the best would be to publish all the stats, but then I think many people would not even try, because they know they would not make it to the leaderboard with good stats. So that's why I think they will never do it.
Mm-hmm. That's probably it, yes.
Maybe they will do it if there's a competition that is publishing it. And then they have the need to do it, because,
yeah. If it becomes a new standard at that point, yes, of course. To you or to your team, has it ever happened to witness a black swan in the markets? And if yes, how did you approach it? If you approach it.
So Patrick told that he was luckily never at the desk when the black swan happened, except the COVID trade, and that was expensive in the oil example he mentioned earlier. And some of our team members have been at the desks when the Swiss National Bank changed the rate policy.
2015, right?
And then there were just, big gaps. And one guy traded it the right way, one guy traded it the wrong way. But that was, I think, the biggest black swan I've heard of that happened when people were in front of the desks. And of course, sometimes when we trade or when we make statistics or build new strategies, we like to don't track the central bank meetings. Like, we often take other news and trade them as well, but central banks meetings are different, because if other news like employment data or something else has a strong deviation from the calculated or estimated number, there are going to be big moves, but you're going to get in or out of a trade most likely. Of course, sometimes you get slippage, but if a central bank meeting acts different than estimated, the markets
go crazy,
very, very different, and have very big gaps, and there you don't get slippage of like 10-20% of the risk you wanted to make. You can get
of course,
multiples of the stop losses you wanted to take. Of course, it can also get in the right direction, but then it's gambling, not trading.
Yeah, of course. So do you think that trading news is gambling?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
I have a little bit of a different opinion about that, but I think I'm lonely with this opinion in the office. I like to trade currencies before meetings and also during meetings.
Before, okay. Yeah.
So to just get limits orders in the market before meetings, like in the liquid currency pairs, they are most likely very liquid, although if you have deviations from the estimated number. But I think during the news or after the news, you have fast moves, and most of the times you just have hunts on liquidity. So I don't try to guess what number will be published. I just try to have a look at the market and guess where's the most liquidity and where are the liquidity pools that most likely get hunted. And then just try to trade that. I like it. But yeah, of course, it's a very fast trading because you make a limit and most of the times you can't manage anything. You just see worked or it didn't work.
So I guess you don't trade news.
No, I drink coffee to do this times. No, I like the slow markets. If not much movement and range trading, I like.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's also personal and based on your habits as a trader. Personally, I like to trade news a lot right after the news came out. It's one of my strategies, just on CPI though, and there's some setups with a really high, hit rate on those. So I could be in the one which trades news definitely.
Do you reverse trade the news or do you continue?
I usually follow. I just follow the news.
the second.
Only if I know that there's gonna be a news that has a high impact though. So if I realize that inflation data is gonna shock gold or silver or S&P 500, like we've seen the last huge move on S&P 500 was data after data after data after data, and they keep going up, accepting new prices, new highs. So it depends. I think it depends.
Very interesting in the order books. Like the days when the S&P just rose, you just saw really big orders stacked above the price every day.
Yes.
You just had a look in there and it was like big order, but always above the price. And then sometimes you also had the orders below the price. But usually, no, I can't say this.
Too much, you say. Well, I guess, of course, there was a lot of sellers in the last bull market in the S&P 500, I think. Both profit takers and also, this last bull run probably on S&P 500 shocked a lot of traders and a lot of investors. And I've seen in the YouTube community a lot of investors say now it's going to go down, it can't go up, and it keeps going the fuck up. So it's like, this is like an opposite black swan. It's like a super white swan, like a shining white swan. So
I've heard of a lot of traders that have been profitable for several years that really struggled in the past months.
Yes, definitely.
Especially at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, there's been a huge pump. I don't know if it's due to artificial intelligence and the hype that's been about that, or if this soft landing scenario is really...
And maybe we had some discussions in the office about the zero DTE strategy. I don't know if you know it. It's like an option strategy that was getting really, really common or public knowledge. And I have basic knowledge about options, but I'm not deep into it. And if the information comes to me from like every channel, I go online and it's zero DTE strategy, blah, blah, blah. And people talk about it. I was like, this is now too common knowledge and it's just going to get liquidity. Maybe it has something to do with that.
Could be. Well, at the end of the day, like zero DTEs are options that expires the same day. So...
And you just speculate on a range the market is closing, right?
Yes. So I think that, at the end of the day, those traders are out of the market. So whoever is taking this position is taking them from the long run. So this is very interesting, a very interesting time to be on the market for sure. Yeah. A couple of questions, like random here and there, you can answer yes or no. Do you think that there is a holy grail?
Oh, I disagree. No.
Just in the church.
Just in the church. Maybe in the church. Okay. Do you think that market moves most of the time in the same way?
Yes, sure.
I thought it, but every time I speak to people that have long experience in the markets, they say no. There's one day the markets change.
Yeah, well, the most time.
The most time.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, my answer's too long, right? We just should agree and disagree.
No. We can actually, if you argument, it's even better, of course.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Are there concepts or strategies, let's say concepts, that don't work?
What do you mean by concepts?
I don't know. Trend line supports, or I don't know, volume, or like, is there any tool, let's say, that doesn't work?
The most tools, yeah. Doesn't work.
I think you can make everything working, but it's gonna be easier and more difficult in some.
Mechanical trading is better than discretionary trading. Agree or disagree?
Yes, it's better. You have more markets.
They're a very difficult question, but I would agree.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that when you only have one market, you are better when you trade on your own. But the mechanic, you can make 1,000 markets. That's perfect.
Okay.
Discretionary trading in all markets. For that, you need a lot of experience, a lot of screen time. If you trade discretionary in one market you focus on, it's going to be easy. But if you want to trade more markets and different strategies and be diversified, I think there's no way around automated or statistical trading, or at least statistical support of it.
In discretionary trading, manual trading, on a scale from 0 to 10, how important is subjectivity?
Much important, I think. 8, 9.
Yeah, I would maybe give it a 7.
Yeah.
So subjectivity is an important thing in discretionary trading, which is the trading we do. Like personally, I do discretionary trading, and I think the trade I choose to not do sometimes makes the most profits in a way. Like avoiding, I can realize when some trades has to be avoided or which trades has to be taken with more risk or more aggressive risk based on my personal experience with the charts.
I think the biggest edge you have as a discretionary trader is that you can bend the rules, obviously. But I think in many cases it would be better to reduce that individual take, the way you manage to trade, the way you take risk. And although you're trading discretionary, just track it. It's tracking your gut feeling. And you can do that. You can print your gut feelings or press your gut feelings in trading into numbers. And that way you should then decide after a time or a couple trades taken.
Can you make a living out of trading in the first year as a complete beginner?
That's really difficult. I think you could make it. It could be, but I think 80% wouldn't schaffen es.
Wouldn't make it.
Would reach. Yeah.
If you go on full time, have very experienced mentors, I think you can make it.
It depends on your Kontogröße.
And
account.
depends on the capital size.
If you have much money and you only need 20-30% a year, you can't reach. But the most people started with less money and then they need 100-200%, and that's crazy.
Yeah. The big problem with people trading low capital is that you need to discipline yourself, and then at some point when it's working, you're asking yourself, is the time worth investing? And then you most of the time stop too early, because if you risk $5 or $10 a trade, or even $20 a trade, and then at the end of the day you make like $50, it's okay, but at some point you're gonna ask yourself, is it worth it, or can you just go somewhere and work in a job where you have way less risk and you have also more social surroundings? Because I think if you don't have a community or office or other people to talk about trading stuff on a higher level, like not the basic trading stuff, if you don't have that, I think most people leave too early.
Should a beginner trader go through trading education and choose a mentor? Or is it more preferable to find your own path, because there's everything online, you can find all the information online. So what's your position on that?
I started trading discretionary. I did not have a mentor for a long time because I started during my time in school, and I just went on the internet, looked at all the stuff that is there, and had a big Word document. It had like hundreds of pages with screenshots with bullet points of myself. I think nowadays 99.9% of the stuff that you can learn somewhere is in the internet. but it's just confusing because it's just an information overload. Because I had a look at it, and every time I found a new holy grail, where at the beginning you think it is the one final step you need, and then at the end I just had a look at it and was like, damn, how should I get a strategy out of this? Because it's too much. Because then there you get a long signal, but this is against it, and so on. You have no structure. I think if you have a lot of time, and if you're clever, you can learn it on the internet, but it's going to be tough because you need a lot of time, and it's a lot of trial and error, and you don't get a feedback from somebody. And I think that's worth a lot. To make a mentoring or a coaching by somebody or get a mentor, it's just like a shortcut. You pay money to get information in a structured and more reduced way. And another very important stuff is that you get feedback of the stuff you do. You don't just have to rely on yourself, you get external feedback. And that's the way I view that, because, for example, when I learned trading and I did my own stuff and traded my own strategies in currencies and cryptocurrencies, and then I went to the guys, I deleted all the stuff that I did myself or that I figured out myself and said, okay, now I'm just going to focus on learning the stuff those guys are telling me, and afterwards I can start and try to combine it. But the pace I learned a strategy or a view on the market with a mentor, with those guys, was so much faster than I took years to build a solid strategy by myself. It was like a couple of weeks with the guys, which was like the same.
Yeah. Does bank conspire against retails? Yes or no?
Betrügen.
A
little bit, yeah, schon.
I think, yes, they do. Spreads and most of the products, except futures, are way too high. The spreads are so high, the commissions are so expensive. If you buy derivatives, which most people do on stocks, currencies, indices, whatever.
Especially CFDs. Yeah.
Especially CFDs.
But then it's probably the brokers then, not the banks.
It's very high, but there are banks that create derivatives people trade, and I think it's legal fraud. And also, when I built a strategy around trading currencies, there are brokers selling the data the customers on the platform have, and I use that data for my trading as a contrarian indicator. So, yes, I think banks and brokers obviously do fraud.
Take advantage of,
yes.
Of course. Okay.
Why not? It's good liquidity.
Yeah, of course.
Every trader decides by himself to participate in that game of trading. And if you don't know the rules and you don't know the game the banks are playing and they are making the rules in this game, then just learn the rules and then start playing the game, but don't comply about the rules. Just...
Yeah, don't complain, yeah. Don't complain about the rules, but, the rules are clear. You can lose all of your money. I mean, I think CFD futures or whatever contract you might, or whatever conflict of interest there is with the broker or with the banks, at the end of the day, if you're a good trader, you're going to earn money even if you're CFD or futures. Like, you can make money regardless of the instrument.
And all the stuff most people on the internet are complaining about, you can build strategies about. If you just look, for example, at all the fraud that is done in the CFD space, just look at it, analyze it, and try to build a strategy around it. It's possible, and everybody can do it, and you don't have to be a hyper brain mathematician, whatever. You just need some logical thinking. Think about the stuff you complain about, and then just build a strategy around it.
Do you think that IQ is related to how profitable you are?
No.
No.
So you don't need to be a smart ass to be profitable in trading?
No, because if you're too clever, you see too many things. You try to combine everything, because the IQ measures how many things your brain can connect and intercorrelate and analyze complex scenarios. Yes, that can help in a way, but in most of the ways it's just confusing you, because then you have a position and then you see this reason against it and this for it, and it's too complicated. You need to be able to make simple decisions and then stick to it, to open the trade and just stick to the trade. How many traders open a position and then question it like 5 minutes later, 15 minutes later? Just stick to it. It was your plan. If everything is accordingly to your plan, stick to it. And for that, you don't need a high.
Do you need to be passionate about trading to be profitable in trading?
Yes.
You need to like it.
Yeah. I think if you don't like it, you're going to get out of the learning process too early, and then you tell, it's not working. you need to have passion because there are going to be hard times. I think in most of the let's call it business models. Yeah. But yeah, of course, you need time and effort to make it work. You need passion, and there's so much to learn. Like, I'm in the markets now full time for 4 years, and before that I don't know how many hours I spent learning stuff about the markets, and still I know that there's even stuff I don't know. Like, I know that I can get way deeper into options, into all the bond stuff and so on. But that is stuff that I know that I don't know. But I know that when I figure out this, or when I start learning about it, there's gonna pop up new stuff that I didn't even know existed before. And then I know that I think it's a lifelong game. If you want to play it, then you can learn or update yourself the whole life. Of course, at some point you can just say, okay, I'm fine with the state I am now, and I'm just gonna leave it that way and don't learn new stuff, don't adapt. But yeah.
Okay, so I think we're good. Thank you so much for answering all of our questions. If you guys seeing this at home have any other question, please let us know. Hopefully seeing you in a next interview at some point in the future. And
maybe Prague, Switzerland, or Dubai.
Probably Dubai.
Yeah.
And good luck with the championships.
Thanks.
Yeah. You too.
Yeah. Let's see if to you too. Hopefully, if we have to decide if joining or not. So.
Yeah. We have to. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the invitation. Thanks for the first podcast experience.